Yo, day 11. Bit of a different one for this evening. It's evening this time as well. Most of the ones I've been doing of these videos have been during the day, and so I've got natural lighting, where this evening I'm experimenting with some different colors. I've got a blue light going on in this room, as you can clearly see. I think it looks pretty cool. We'll see what it looks like afterwards and see if it's worth keeping. Good time for experimenting. I bought one of these lights that has all the colors in it. It's one of these smart light bulbs. Because I don't have the proper lighting equipment at this point. That's something for a later date. Currently, got this multicolored setup. Some cool reds, yellows. I'll see what colors work. So yeah, if you like the blue, let me know. I think it looks pretty sweet. So yeah, today, what is going on today for me? This was fun. Last night, I went to record some reels for my Instagram. And I had just a mental breakdown. What I was trying to do was trying to be all perfect, which is completely against what this whole practice is about. And I sat down with the intention of doing some reels, and I realized this whole pre-scripting thing was not really coming from the right place. And the pre-scripting that I was doing was kind of just getting me nowhere. And I was recording a reel on perfectionism. This is the irony of it. Recording a reel on perfectionism and how it corrodes our dreams. And whilst recording this reel, I was sitting there being absorbed in perfectionism, trying to get the words right, trying to get everything right. And I ended up stopping and realized that my deeper meanings for doing this were basically needing to be reinstated. Because the original reason that I started doing this recording stuff was initially for me to improve my speaking. And then it became to help other people to get into that space. And when people go to start expressing themselves more, and to use their voices, which is a core point of this channel. One of the primary things that I work on is getting people out of this perfectionist state, simply expressing for the sake of expressing. Because if we don't do that, nothing happens. We end up in this perpetual loop of, I'll be okay, or I'll be ready when this happens. When this time occurs, then I'll do it. Or when I feel more confident, then I'll do it. Once I've done this other course, whatever, then I'll do it. And ultimately, the only thing that is truly rewarded by ourselves and by society is by us doing it. And unfortunately, the way that our brains have been set up, it's not often that easy. At least it doesn't appear that easy. For anyone who's familiar with the ways of praise and validation and how it affects our psyche growing up, I'll share a bit more deeper insight into this. There's a woman called Carol Dweck, and I remember reading a book years ago about growth mindset versus fixed mindset as a form of raising children and how to teach them and all of that. And the implications of certain forms of validation and invalidation and how they affect our psyche when we are older and how we learn. It can completely shape the way that we learn. For example, we often focus on the negative things that were said to us. Maybe we didn't receive validation for something. Maybe we were told we weren't enough, or maybe we were told we were too loud, or we couldn't speak up in whatever circumstance it was. And yes, that has a big impact. That source of invalidation. We often focus on that as the primary. What often isn't looked at is when you are praised for being smart, praised for being intelligent. Maybe you're praised for being handsome or pretty or beautiful. Maybe you're praised for being really fast. Maybe you're a fast runner. Maybe you're praised for being a winner. And all of these things, what happens is this teaches us that everything that we do is going to be validated through these things. And so in order, if it's pretty, then growing up, someone being praised for being pretty, when they become an adult, when they go through life, they're going to be obsessed with being pretty instead of being themselves. And so this can lead to all sorts of stuff, body issues, lead to excessive cosmetics and plastic surgery and all of this sort of stuff, because it's a sickness. And same thing with intelligence. If someone says, hey, you're so smart, this is likely to stop you from doing anything that is where you're not seen as smart, because you need to be seen as smart, because that was when you received validation. You received praise for being smart. And so the way that this works is it limits what you're willing to go into and what you're willing to do, because if someone sees you doing this thing, anything that you're doing as a new endeavor, you need to be seen as smart or really good at the thing, or whatever you were praised for. If it's social media and you were told that you were pretty or beautiful, then if you don't appear pretty or beautiful in your own eyes on social media, you won't post anything up. And so the remedy to this, this is referred to as the fixed mindset. They're fixed in the same way of thinking. Now, the growth mindset, this is when you're praised on the effort that you put in. Let's say someone who's very smart may put in a lot of effort to study, or maybe they are very flexible thinkers. Maybe they think outside the box a lot, and maybe that's why they're really smart. Maybe they are not that smart and they simply just put in more hours than someone else. They're determined to do well, and therefore they do better than other people. When these things are praised, this instills a sense of, oh, I'm validated for working hard, or I'm validated for putting in effort. This is the thing that I'm actually, when the kids are doing these things, they know that they've been working really hard. But when they're praised on the final result, it completely invalidates the effort and the struggle or the amount of time and devotion that they put into a project, or into doing well at a test, or doing well at a sport. So when we can identify these things, the things that have actually created this, then those can be praised. And so if you imagine, if you've been seen as smart all of your life and you want to start something new, take a YouTube channel, for example. I'll actually use my own example here. I've been a musician for a long time, and I'm proficient as a musician. And when I'm performing, I have been doing it for long enough that I can fix up mistakes on the go. I can perform at a very high level. I can sing very well, very competently. If I make mistakes, I'll fix them up. No one will even notice. And then the whole idea of doing live speaking in front of a camera here, and we'll be starting this week, I'll be starting some stage speaking stuff. The whole thing is of being bare and potentially not knowing what to say, potentially feeling stuck for words or saying something twice, repeating myself, not engaging a crowd, not acknowledging the crowd, speaking too much whilst not getting feedback. There's going to be so many new components to learn. And if I'm obsessed with being seen as talented, or let's say with music, I'm seen as talented, I'm seen as really good at what I do. If that's what I need to be seen as, I'm not as likely to go forth on that endeavor, because I'm going to slip up, I'm going to make mistakes, and those mistakes are going to be obvious, fairly likely. I'm imagining that. That's me preparing for the potential worst, whilst also preparing for the best, because I'm here to play to win. And that means taking on board feedback. That means that no matter how good I do, or how good I think I do, I'm going to be open to feedback and potential criticism, ideally constructive criticism. However, could be opinionated criticism. It could be jealousy criticism. It could be all sorts. Could be someone who's really good at what they do, or someone that's really judgy, and that's all. It's all feedback, right? So it's going to be up to my capacity to take that on board and discern what is important and what's not important. That's something of a meta skill, of an overarching skill that I've learned over the years through music, to be able to go back and refine certain things. Some areas I'm better at than others. A skill that I'm constantly working on. And for that, on that note, if anyone has any suggestions, if you're watching this video and you're like, I'd like to hear you talk more about this, or I'd like to hear you tell more of your story, or maybe you would like me to stick to a particular topic for a longer period of time, maybe the videos are too long, and that's okay as well. I'm doing 30 minutes for the remainder of this challenge. However, moving forward, would it be better in a 15-minute format? Something I'd thought about. Would it be better in an hour's format? Is there not enough? Would it be better if the lighting was better, or that it was edited? Would you prefer it if it was edited? And these are all things to take on board. Ultimately, if you're here for a reason, then what's that phrase? If you're here, then you're here for a reason. That's the phrase. Maybe you're here because I'm not pretending to be anything that I'm not. Maybe you're here because you want to see me slip up, or maybe you want to poke fun. Maybe you feel really encouraged by what I do. Maybe you're really inspired. I'd love to know all of it, especially if you're someone that's sitting back and not liking the stuff or commenting. I'd really love to hear from you. And let's say, if you make yourself known, it means that I can give you further value. It means that I can potentially speak to something that you're challenged by. And if not, that's also perfect. Because like I've said in previous videos, I have watched YouTube videos for years and never liked, subscribed, never commented, left it for so long. And it's all perfect. Because ultimately we do what we do because of what we feel comfortable doing. And maybe the thing that feels like an edge to you is the thing that's actually required for you to move forward. So if that is interacting, if that is asking a question, if that is subscribing or liking or whatever the thing may be that's an edge for you, what is that edge? Where is a place that you can actually find that you've been labeled as? Have you been labeled as intelligent or smart or as dumb? Maybe you've been labeled as dumb, or maybe you've been labeled as ugly, or maybe you've been labeled as slow. Maybe you've been labeled as funny. Maybe you're labeled as strong or weak, loud. Maybe you've been labeled as loud, or maybe you're too quiet. What labels resonate with you? Because those labels aren't you. It's important to note what they are. When you can identify what they are, then you can start to reverse engineer and reconstruct the way that your brain sees them. For example, intelligence. To be smart at something is simply to be able to learn something quickly. The ability to learn something maybe faster than the average person. And this isn't a competition, this is for yourself. And maybe smart is you being able to retain lots of information. Maybe smart is being able to connect lots of dots easily. Maybe you've got emotional intelligence. Maybe you have an innate ability to feel what people are feeling and to understand people deeply. Maybe to connect to people deeply. Maybe that's something that you're really good at doing. And then take a step back from that and say, instead of being simply good at that, what is it that makes you good at that? When you can identify that, you can identify a strength and something that you can praise and validate for yourself. For example, one of mine is being able to connect dots for people and connect with metaphors and to take an individual and take what is happening in their lives and to connect it to something that I'm teaching. I also have an ability to be able to read in between the lines of what people are saying. And this is created by my constant reflection back to myself and my connection to my own heart and listening from this space as well, which has taken a lot of work. It's taken a lot of persistence. So what is it that makes you smart or pretty or vibrant or whatever the label is? Let's take, again, pretty or handsome. If that's been a label that you're being held up by, what does that mean? Usually it means that you present yourself with confidence. Maybe you walk really straight because people instantly appear more attractive when they have confidence in themselves. What about someone who's ugly? Why is someone perceiving you as ugly or dumb? Let's say for ugly, it could be that maybe you don't take any pride in your appearance. Maybe you leave the house without doing anything. Maybe you don't wash yourself. Maybe you put on old clothes that are falling apart. Whatever the thing may be for you. How are you presenting yourself as ugly to prove that to the world? And what does ugly mean to you? What does dumb mean? Someone's perceived you as dumb in the past. What is dumb? Dumb is simply, if you look at that as an attribute, as a thing that gets you to be dumb, how can you recreate dumb? By saying, it doesn't matter even if I can get this thing, even if I can learn this thing quickly, I'm going to choose not to. I'm going to choose to have a lack of persistence. I'm going to choose to accept what people are putting on me. I'm going to accept the judgments. I'm not going to learn from them, because a smart person, an intelligent person, would learn from feedback. So a dumb person doesn't. An ugly person just says, you know what, you're probably right, I'm not going to take any care of myself. And the difference between the person that's perceived as pretty versus the person who's perceived as ugly is the one who's ugly doesn't believe in themselves. Maybe they don't have that confidence in themselves. And so if you wanted to work on that, let's say, you could work on your confidence and you'll instantly appear to the world as more, let's say, attractive or prettier or more handsome, simply because of the way you turn up in life. That's the thing that is the growth mindset. That's something that you can work on. That's something that you can work on that and you can take that to the very end of your days. Throughout your entire life, you can take those skills. You can't take pretty as a label to the grave with you. It's not really a value. Intelligence is not really a value. The determination to be intelligent and to learn is a value. Something to live by. Intelligence is the way that I see it, is being able to take what we know and decide that, you know what, it doesn't matter that I know this thing. I'm not going to take that into every circumstance as if it's gospel. I'm going to assume in every room that I walk into that I don't know something about someone's life, and that someone in that room knows something that I don't. And therefore I can come from a place of humility. Therefore I can always learn something. That to me is a higher level of intelligence than saying that I'm intelligent and trying to tell everyone what I know and the information that I've learned. And so, where are you limiting yourself with your labels? This is used in things with people who have depression or anxiety. It's like, yes, they're very real things. They're very real experiences that people can have. I've had a lot of anxiety in the past, and I guess something that I would call depression. I never labeled it as such, so I don't think that really helps. Maybe temporarily. Maybe as a tool in order to go, okay, well, if I'm having this experience of depression or a lack of motivation, like, what is a lack of motivation? Kind of not knowing what to do. It's being stuck in confusion. That was my experience for a long time. It's being stuck in that confusion, in the confusion, and feeling like that was my life. The confusion is just running around in circles. And I keep reaffirming to myself the labels. If I say that I'm an anxious person, that is the spell that I'm casting upon myself. I'm confirming to myself that I am an anxious person. And even saying those words, like, they don't resonate like they used to. Because I know that those words aren't true. I'm saying them in a sense of reflection. So we must note the intention behind our words, why we're saying the certain things that we're saying. Because the amount of unconscious words that are used in each day it's phenomenal. And this is something that I became aware of, is this concept that when we write a word out, we spell it. It's called spelling. And behind every single word is a charge for each person. For example, certain words will mean things to you, and they'll mean a different thing to me. And what happens when we go around and we start telling stories to people? We spell out our life. We spell out our map of the world to everyone. And when people listen, well, if someone hears your story and you say, I'm depressed, or I'm anxious, I'm an anxious person, as soon as that person, because you've attempted to cast a spell upon them because you want them to reaffirm that. And if that person agrees to that, then you get to stay there. If they disagree with it, you also get to stay there. Because disagreement is just another form of agreement. It leads you to go, well, fuck you, this is what I'm doing, this is my life. And so nothing happens from that space, except for maybe a deeper resentment, a rebelliousness. It's not a true listening. Whereas if you come to me and say you're an anxious person, it's more important for me to receive that and say thank you for expressing that. Because it's important for us to be able to say those things. It doesn't mean that I subscribe to the story. It doesn't mean that I believe you. That's not the important part here. It's the fact that whatever is true in your story, that you are received and you're listened to. And so this is half the battle with people's stories and people's beliefs and opinions. And the big part of communication that I focus on is how to, actually another YouTube guy mentioned this, he calls it Aikidoing a situation. And I've liked using this phrase because it's actualized.org. I'm pretty sure that's the guy. I can't remember what his name is. He talked about Aikidoing a situation. This is a thing in Aikido where if someone comes running at them, they will just kind of deflect their energy. It's like a dance. And in that way, it's not really designed to inflict damage upon people. It's designed to absorb it. And in this process, we're able to absorb what's happening. And if we don't react to that spell or that story or that intention, we kind of just let it go by the wayside. And what this does is the person who sent that story is kind of thrown off balance. And when they're thrown off balance, they are faced with the reality of what they have said or what they have done, the intention that they've sent out. And I'm getting into more energetics here. It's real stuff. And when people have been listened to truly and someone hasn't tried to fix them, maybe they're met with a blank expression. Whatever is required in that moment. It can sometimes be the difference between them going, you know what, I actually want to do something about this. I would like to move forward from this anxious space or this experience of being depressed. Because if you talk to anyone who's been depressed or had anxiety or had any of these things, these psychological things, most of the time, they will tell you that they were in the experience. And when they were in it, it was real. And when they're out of it, they look back and they go, well, it was an experience. I was having the experience that was depression or anxiety or wanting to kill oneself. And that is an experience. So I'm not going to deny someone of being in that experience. It's not anyone's role to say that someone can't have that experience or to even validate it. It's like, cool. All right. Thanks for expressing. What would you like to do? What would you like? Would you like to do anything with it? Do you want to be heard? Simply. What is it that you're going to choose to do with it now? And yeah, could definitely go into this topic more. It's about making choices. Because we have choices in every moment. We have choices to move forward in this game of life, or we have the choice to not. If any of you have played games in the past or now, you have the option to stay in the village, to stay in the main town and not go out into the battleground. That's a choice. However, all of the good loot and all of the experience and everything is out in the field. It's out fighting the monsters. It's out doing all of the dirty stuff, risking being killed, risking losing everything. It's in the challenge, it's in the strategy, it's in all of those things. That's where the gold is. I'll go deeper into this game concept because I love it. I'll go into this in maybe tomorrow, actually. So until tomorrow, peace out, and yeah, see you for day 12.